just to start off, thank you so much for joining us here today for the interview. Maybe to start off with this, tell me a little bit about yourself as well as what you do with Black Veatch.
So thank you for having me here on this particular interview. I joined Black Veatch in 2019. Prior to that, I had worked for another company for 26 years with Siemens in various roles. I joined Black Veatch in 2019. I was asked to run the power business for the company. And it was interesting at that time because we were the market leaders on thermal power generation, particularly in coal. The company decided to exit coal in 2020, and that was a real transformation for the company. And to steer the company coming out of coal generation into more cleaner energy, be it gas, be it renewables, I think we have seen a lot happening in the last three and a half years, actually. And I'm really excited what's happening in this particular market.
As are we. It's a very exciting time for the energy transition. And I just wanted to kind of get an idea from you. What are some of the observations that you've noticed, perhaps in the past 5 to 10 years?
So earlier people used to talk. There used to be a lot of what we call all talk and no action. I think the biggest difference that I'm seeing with this dialogue, which is happening, and the overall, not just noise, but real action after every dialogue which is happening, is there are concrete actions which are happening. If we see ASEAN coming together and promising, say, 23-24% of renewable energy in their mix as an overall ASEAN region, it's a great thing. But behind that is actions happening now. I mean, Vietnam took the initial lead of having substantial renewable renewable energy investments. But the work which we are seeing now in Philippines, in Thailand, in Indonesia, Vietnam, Singapore talking about a green hydrogen economy or green ammonia economy is a true reflection of the seriousness that we see not only from the industry but also the regulators and the investors. So it's now really, I would say, we are really seeing action being taken around those discussions which was happening earlier.
Right. And in terms of the action, would you say that some of it comes from pressure from the governments, from the stakeholders, or rather support in terms of the frameworks that have been offered?
I think it's a mix of both. There is peer pressure, of course. When one of the countries takes an initiative of saying, hey, I have a green hydrogen strategy, and the others, they don't. Nobody wants to be left out. It's the same on renewable, actually. There were certain countries which took the lead, but the others soon realized that staying away from it in the long term could mean loss of investment, loss of opportunities. Of course, the governments have to find the balance between ensuring that energy security is not compromised by doing some of those. So, but if you really look at different countries based on the aspiration that they have, what they want to bring out in terms of taking care of their people, but also ensuring that there is enough investment flowing in, and their commitments towards the larger commitment towards the Paris Climate Agreement. The overall commitment from different countries, different organizations, is just ensuring that they take stock of what is happening on the ground and being able to make their commitments. So it's at different levels. It would be good that everybody can match up with the best in the industry, but we do understand that it's not possible for everybody to be at the same pace.
Right. It just takes time, really.
Absolutely, yeah.
I see. Well, let's talk about energy transition opportunities and challenges when it comes to the APAC region. Where would you say we are?
So let me take, on a scale of 1 to 10, overall ASEAN, 10 countries, they're at different levels. Obviously, we know that. And it's partially based on the economic situation of every country, but also in terms of overall population growth, energy demand, and also access to cleaner fuels. So if you take example of, say, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, which has been able to build a gas infrastructure, for them to go for more cleaner baseload fuel like LNG or gas is a lot more easier. But for countries like Philippines or Vietnam, where they don't have their own gas infrastructure, it might be difficult. But one thing which is happening common in all these countries is the pace of renewable development. But obviously, I mean, it's not about how much you produce. It's also about how much can be utilized. So if we take example of Vietnam a couple of years back, Vietnam was able to do huge renewable energy development, maybe probably more than 18-20% as part of the energy mix. But what was important was the pace of having the grid being upgraded to be able to make utilization of every electron that is being generated, did not keep pace. So that has been a lesson learned for most of the other countries in this part of the region, that every electron that is being generated, how can you ensure that the grid network or the utilization can be substantially improved. So energy efficiency, smart grids are the solution to that, and I think the industry is starting to work on that.
Right. And with this energy industry, with the smart grids, is this something that Black & Veatch is also working on?
We do. I mean, you know, we have been a key player in not only in generation, but also transmission and distribution. The aspect of smart grid, or a grid which is highly flexible, because as we know, renewable is very fluctuating. It could range from being able to generate say X percentage of energy in a certain time of the day and suddenly dropping to zero maybe. So how do you ensure that the grid is being able to manage this flexibility? So also a lot of electrification happening. We're talking of EV charging, we are talking of clean energy users like the data center companies, Microsoft, Google, who have said that they would like to only go in places where they're able to get 100% green electricity. So that's putting a lot of pressure on the grid, and being able to take that generation, as I said earlier, in no matter which part that energy is being generated, being able to channel it in a very nice, fast, responsive manner is the key. And we have been doing this kind of projects for many years, and I mean, including some customers here.
I see. And I think looking from a regional perspective, where the ASEAN territories are, is slightly different compared to the rest of the world. Would you say that it's kind of playing catch up with its Western counterparts?
I would say we were indeed playing a catch up a couple of years back, but I think the pace of development has picked up a lot. Post some of the geopolitical issues, say after the Russia-Ukraine war, we were seeing prior to the Russia-Ukraine war probably the West leading that efforts. But you know, after the Russia-Ukraine war, there has been a challenge of having baseload generation, you know, or energy security being a major issue for the West as well. So people have started being more appreciative of what ASEAN is going through, and ensuring that you need to be able to have energy security for your people. And you can't just shut, you know, whatever existing generation is. Let's take example for Indonesia. More than 50 to 60% of current generation is coal. Now, how do you transition that into a more cleaner fuel, but it's still affordable and sustainable? So there is a lot of initiatives which are being implemented, and I think the overall global community has started to realize, post some of those geopolitical risks, that you need to be able to provide power. You can't just shut down something to, you know, switch on something. And being able to realize that has helped for people to go and do early planning in ensuring that they bring the most efficient technologies into play. Again, it's not one button that can be pressed to solve the problem around energy transition. I believe there are a lot of Lego pieces which will come together. No one solution for one country would fit exactly for another country. So every country will have its own, I would say, puzzles to be brought together to solve the whole thing.
Right. And in speaking about those puzzle pieces, are there any particularly unique parts that you think the ASEAN region should take note of?
A couple of them. I mean, I would start with, how do you, so energy, I mean, as we know, electrons, if you produce them, if you don't use them, it's wasted.
Yep.
Unless you find a way to store that electron for certain duration. So battery energy storage is a good, simple way, but it's expensive as well, of storing those electrons for a certain number of hours in a day. But again, the capacity could be 2 hours, 4 hours, 6
Yeah.
hours, but as you scale it up, it starts becoming more expensive. The other option is maybe, say, pumped hydro. But again, I mean, you need to have the geographical conditions to be able to fulfill that. We are seeing a lot of customers now or countries looking at green hydrogen as a good segue into storing molecules, which can be then utilized. SAF is another, again, I mean, sustainable aviation fuel has been there in the past, you would take waste, incinerate it to generate power.
Yep.
But now you could actually use the biological process to convert into biofuels, which is a lot more easier to transport and as compared to just generating electrons through burning those. So there are a lot of technologies which are there. Those technologies are, for example, on green hydrogen. We have close to 200 projects on green hydrogen on which we are doing feasibility study or including a large-scale EPC in US. But in this part of the world, out of that 200 projects that we are engaged, only 3 projects are there in this region, one in Indonesia, Vietnam, and Australia. So there's a lot of opportunity. The other aspect which I don't see much, I would say, traction happening is the carbon capture piece.
Right.
And my personal belief is there is no net zero without doing a carbon capture. But again, utilization and storage is a story which needs to be resolved.
Yep.
So the industry has to come together to be able to find some solutions to that.
I see. And do you think that's where we're going to go in the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Do you think there's going to be a lot of priority focus to that?
I think we are seeing at least some of the biggest players now starting to make that early move. Like on carbon capture, we are seeing moves by some of the biggest oil producing companies in Malaysia, in Thailand, in Indonesia. Carbon capture, for instance, post-combustion is being talked about, but no major investments made. Yeah. But I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, so one of the concerns which is happening around some of this technologies is the cost behind it. Is the return on investment with those technologies which are there, is it practically possible? And I always say, I'm an eternal optimist, and the reason why I say that is being an engineer, I feel technologies have always solved the world's biggest problem. And as some of those technologies get scaled up, we will see they becoming more affordable in terms of return on investment. And yep. 2 examples which I could quote on that is solar panels. 20 years back, they were super expensive, 3 to 4 times of the current generation cost, whatever is there. And as the technology has become more competitive, not only solar panels have become a lot more cheaper, they've become 10 times more efficient as compared to a square meter of solar panel, which would generate power in the past. The second big example is battery energy storage. Batteries, I remember when I'm an electrical engineer, when I started my career 30 years back, pack size of battery generating X amount of power. Today, our phones have more power than those batteries, yes. which used to be so bulky, it was difficult for being lifted by one person. And these were lead-acid batteries. So the battery technology is also changing rapidly. So I believe on green hydrogen with electrolyzers getting bigger and bigger, more efficient in terms of the overall capex cost, or SAF, or any of the other technologies, we'll see the same trend.
All right. And perhaps just one last question. So tell me a little bit about what Black Veatch has planned for the future.
So our plan for the future is, our commitment on net zero. As I said earlier, 2020, we exited the coal business yep. here in Asia Pacific. For people who might not be familiar, when I joined the company, and in 2020, when we were asked, hey, we are exiting coal, we had almost more than 2/3 of our revenue coming out of coal. So it was a big step by the company as part of the overall commitment. And I think that commitment shows or demonstrates that, hey, if we start that journey, it doesn't mean that we are just giving up something and there is nothing else at the end of the tunnel. After that, we have not been able to only transform our business, we have been able to train our people to work across different new technologies. We are currently the market leader on green hydrogen. We were rated as one of the world's #1 company on green hydrogen as a EPC or engineering company. And we believe that that transition would not have happened if we would have not exited coal. So I'm seeing as being a trendsetter in the industry, working together with our customers and helping them navigate, because many of them are also struggling. Hey, we have this net zero plan, how do we reach there? It's a complex situation, but I think we are equipped with more than 10,000 employees across the world to be able to work together with our partners, to work together with our customers in helping navigate towards that net zero goal.
All right. Thank you very much for the time given for the interview today.
Thank you so much. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure being here.